So
Shame.
I think the recording has started, recommenced, and then
All right.
yeah,
Almost
Leanne, you can just
there.
maybe just do
Okay.
the welcome, then we'll pass over to Seema.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, welcome everybody again this morning. Thank you for the people who was in the first two presentations. They were very and talking about hair peptides and about different hairstyles and weaving and wigs, and that was also fascinating. So thank you to our first two presenters. So we're busy with the second half of the morning, and we've got three presentations, and our break will be at 12 to 12:30. Obviously, when you come in, please keep your mics muted. And if you want to keep your camera on, you're welcome to. And questions, please pop them in the chat box. We'll, after each and every presentation, Bridget will just pop in the email addresses of the speakers. And we want to just thank you, everybody, for attending the morning. It's great to have you all here. And then we're going to hand over to Seema and she's going to talk to us about hair matters. So keep your questions after the presentation and enjoy the morning with us. Thank you, Seema. We can't hear you. You're on mute.
Hi
There we
everyone.
go.
I just want to introduce myself, so I'll just switch on my camera quickly. I'm Seema. Just a quick intro. I've been with the industry for about 18 years. Started years back with L'Oreal and then moved on to Godrej and recently joined Marico. Hopefully, would add this presentation will add some value to the group. And yeah, looking forward to it. Let's get into it.
Thank you.
So I take it everybody can still see my screen, right? My presentation.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, we can.
So yeah, so I just want to talk about a little bit about hair and why hair matters. I think we are very fortunate to be in quite an amazing industry in that our job involves a lot of more than just technical, right? It's very much about beauty and confidence and self-expression and identity, specifically with hair, right? It's not just a functionality. A business of functionality or products of functionality. It really is about expression and self-love and self-care. And so yeah, this is just basically some of the words that I mean when you think of hair and why it matters. The freedom of expression, individuality, sensuality. This is what it means to most women, and why it's really such a lovely industry to be in, and such an important industry as well. Now going down a little bit into why hair matters, a little bit more into the science of it or the technical aspects. I think for everybody in this group, I mean, some of you will obviously, it's maybe more of a refresher. But I think it was important to just go back to the basics in terms of straight, kinky and curly hair, especially considering that South Africa is really one of the most diverse countries in the world. And again, very fortunate to be in this country and be able to formulate and experiment and provide for the different hair types within the region. So yeah, so this is just basically the differences. I mean, straight hair being round or oval with more kinky hair, and obviously curly hair being more flattened. Or it in this particular diagram, they categorize it as wavy, but more intermediate. And if you have to break it down and further down, as I go down into the presentation, I've broken it down further, and we'll go into that shortly. And then here, hair structure, again, just back to the basics a bit. I mean, as we know, most of our chemical treatments, our hair colors, and our straightness, particularly for this market, works around the cortex area. But most of the other aftercare, pre-care, pre-washes, cleansers are working on the surface and the cuticle of our hair. And then I've just added a more what I call regressive categorization of hair, Asian, Afro-textured, and Caucasian. And why I say that is, as I go down into the next slide, it'll make more sense. But this is, yeah, the very old and regressive way of classifying hair, again, largely based on shape and curl typology. But I think in more recent times, with the science and the investment into hair care, because it is quite a huge industry, and the investment more from a research as well as an industry perspective, we actually are moving away to a more progressive categorization. And this is not just for hair care, this is also for skincare. Moving more into tones and codes, as opposed to the previous way it's Asian, Caucasian, and ethnic. And it's actually quite interesting because if you look at some of the up and coming products and the more futuristic products, it's really targeting these hair types now. And speaking about aftercare for a 4A versus a 4C, so it's becoming very much more scientific. Even the likes of L'Oreal now moving from type 1 to type 8. So yeah, very interesting progressive way of looking at hair. And this is just for your knowledge, the Andre Walker breakdown using similar typology. And then we move on to African hair. And again, I think we're quite fortunate to be working in South Africa and the African continent, because there is so much of diversity and so much more room for formulating and playing with different formulas and offering different products for different textures. And South Africa and Africa in general has the largest variety of hair when it comes to in terms of curl typology, and it makes it a very exciting environment to work for, to formulate for these different types of hair types. So I think some unique, well, I wouldn't say it's unique needs, but just to focus more on African hair, these would stand out more than the others. Is moisture content and dryness. We know from a lot of research that African hair does have a slightly lower moisture content and is often more dry. And because of the sheer kinkiness and curliness of the hair, or the typology of the hair, you find that the oils from the scalp, or sebum from the scalp, is not easily distributed to the midlands and ends. And this is obviously true for any curly or kinky hair. And then diameter, we know that, again, because of the curl typology, there is a large variation at the different points of the curls itself. Density, it's much lower than other hair types, and the cuticle layers generally have much less cuticle layers than other hair types as well. And this is important because I think often we associate curly hair with being very strong hair, or it's actually more of a myth than anything else, because curly or kinky hair generally is very gentle and fragile hair. And we often see, and there is definitely a change now, that the market has a lot of products that are quite harsh for African hair, or South African hair. And I'm going to take you through some of that and the unique conditions that come up due to those products being in the market as well. So obviously we all know relaxers, and just again a quick refresher in terms of the chemistry of relaxers. And I think what I really want to speak about is, again, the damage caused by some of these unique styling and chemical treatments that we have in the market, and its impact on African hair specifically. I'm going to look at relaxer damage first. Some of the more critical consequences of relaxer usage and the damage caused by it is the color change of the hair loss, of course, breakage and thinning. Now, of course, with proper use and with proper pre and post treatment of hair could be very, very in very good, healthy shape, even with the use of relaxers. A lot of these concerns come up with misunderstanding, miscommunication, misuse, not following instructions, over processing hair, and not properly treating the hair pre and post relaxing. The other big one that has come up, and I think I really enjoyed the earlier presentation as well. We do know and we do see, and going back to my first few slides, hair is more than just a functionality. It's about expression and freedom of expression, if you will. And you'll find, again, specifically in the South African market, an average consumer will change their hair quite often compared, to the rest of the world. And there's much more that they can do with their hair. So definitely an increase in weaves and wigs and braiding and styling for sure. And with that, again, comes sometimes misuse and overuse, resulting in things like traction alopecia. So these are the two main concerns currently that we're looking at in terms of chemical treatments and styling products. Also, I wouldn't say styling products, styling types, with styling of the hair using braiding and weaves, etc. This is just a very graphic representation of damage on the hair, of course. These are not just due to, of course, relaxing or traction or breakage of the hair because of tension and traction. But yeah, for this particular context, just a more graphic representation of how severe breakage can get. And then going on to African hair needs, and this is where I wanted to spend, the most amount of time, is what these concerns or these healthcare regimes, if you will, are most important for the African consumer, the South African consumer. And I've bucketed into these four: safer relaxing or safer relaxers, gentle cleansing, daily moisture protection, and weekly post-care regimes. And really, to just dig a little bit deeper into each one, if you look at safer relaxers, this is not to say that we stop relaxers or, stop promoting the use of relaxers. It was to come up with something that is truly safer for the consumer. And this could, again, overlap into some of the other areas in terms of regimes like pre and post care of the hair. But it also could be something really unique in terms of us as an industry coming together and looking at unique technology and unique ingredients that really can make the relaxing process safer. And it is happening already. I mean, there's the industry and companies are already investing in this technology and ingredients, to make it safer. And I think a lot of temporary relaxers and temporary straighteners are also in the market now, and blowouts, if you will. But I think a lot more can and should, and I'm sure is being done, to ensure that the relaxing process itself and relaxer technology itself is safer. And again, going back to ethnic hair or African hair being really the most gentle hair, it is definitely something that as an industry we need to work to making safer, to providing safer options for our consumers. In terms of gentle cleansing, and this comes again speaking about weaves and wigs and braids and the way the market is heading and what they currently using. Obviously, this does make cleaning the hair, taking care of the scalp of the hair and roots of the hair and the scalp a little bit more difficult. And again, we need to look at offering this consumer with unique propositions for cleaning hair that is different for scalp cleansing when you're using a braid that is going to be inserted in your hair for 6 to 8 weeks. More effective cleansing rituals or cleansing products for the scalp there. And also gentle cleansing before and after chemical treatments and relaxer treatments. And then most importantly, I think the movement of the natural movement is also quite huge in South Africa as well, and taking up in the rest of the world as well. And the trend is definitely something that's taking off in South Africa. And we need to also look at offering much more gentle cleansing options for that consumer as well, to allow them to wash more often without drying out their hair. And again, going back to the previous slides, I mean, we are aware, taking into consideration the specific needs of African hair that is often more dry. These cleansing agents need to be probably supplemented with moisturizing ingredients to ensure that it's not further drying out. It's specific for that consumer or consumer need. And then, of course, daily moisture protection. Daily moisture protection can be really anything. I mean, it can be your leave-in products that you know that you have in your hair, that you're keeping in your hair on a daily basis, of course, or it could be morning or night rituals that you know, if it's specific to your ends, your midlands, your roots. But I think the focus again needs to be on moisture protection and preventing moisture loss. And again, going back specifically to the African consumer, the African hair need, much again, more gentle products that are not very heavy on the hair, but that actually does retain moisture, protect against moisture loss. And then lastly, with weekly post-care regimes, and I think this is an important one. And again, if you look at trends, a lot of consumers are becoming much more experimental and mixing oils from the market. Some even dabbling into some skincare products and mixing and making their own little concoctions for you know, their weekly and monthly care regimes, and coming together, putting together little masks and treatments. And that's very important because we need to, again, and this addresses moisture, this addresses you know, anti-breakage, the common concerns that you would have with African hair specifically. And yeah, I think a large, again, products that are not really heavy, but actually do offer a lot of moisturization and ensures that in between washes or in between treatments, in between styling your wigs and weaves, that you actually have a deeper treatment to actually take care of your hair and of course scalp as well. While I've concentrated mostly on hair care, of course scalp is it goes hand in hand, your scalp and hair treatments. Yeah, and these are basically, I think, the 4 buckets that if we are very proactive and you know, continue to invest in ingredients and technology specifically for the African needs, you know, under these buckets, it's definitely going to be a much more exciting place to be, and we'll definitely be able to serve the consumer better. And yeah, that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Seema. That was a lovely presentation. It really confirmed a lot of things that I've been feeling in my heart about African hair care. And I think you answered another question that I had about washing, regularly washing. And obviously we know if the African hair care with our ladies, if they wash more, it does dry out the hair and that they have more breakage on their hair. So to probably develop a product that if you wash more often, that it doesn't dry out the hair as much.
Correct, exactly.
Is that something that you've seen in the market, or you know, that you think that we could probably look at formulating more products that are addressing those, you know, those issues? Seema, you there?
Yes, sorry, I was on mute.
Okay.
Correct, 100%.
Okay.
Agreed. Yes, it does. Sorry, I was on mute.
Yes. And
Yeah,
okay.
for 100%, I think there is definitely a movement to washing more often, though. And to your point, it is the drying element. I mean, it is quite unique to curly hair, or you know, so it definitely is something that as an industry we need to look at. You know, even if it's, I mean, even again, the trends are smaller still, but even things like with weaves and wigs where you cannot wash your hair, you know, looking into alternatives like going back a bit with like dry shampoos and stuff like that. So there is definitely more we can do in that space for sure.
Yeah. Yes, and I think, Seema, the other thing is that I got reminded about when we're doing trials on hair and hair care products for volunteers, that a lot of the volunteers have a lot of residue of old products stuck on their hair and on their scalp. And that just by
Exactly.
a mere one wash, it doesn't actually remove that residues, to probably also look at products that actually wash the scalp more thoroughly, like you said, a deep cleanse, but doesn't necessarily always dry the scalp.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, because I've seen lots of dandruff problems with the ladies that it starts with a small not washing regularly, or not having the right product, and then all of a sudden you have full-blown anti-dandruff, and then it's so chronic that they need to see a dermatologist to help
Correct.
them.
Yeah, and I think what's in the market sometimes aggravates it, not necessarily because of the product being incorrect, but the heavier oil-based products that they obviously use on their hair, thinking that it's gonna, help, sometimes just adds to the problem. So I think,
Yes.
yeah, it's definitely an interesting market, and something that I think that's what makes it challenging, is that we have a lot of work cut out for us, and it's a lot of more creative ways to come up with
Yes.
solutions for our consumers.
Yes, absolutely so. I see in the chat box there was a question from Roxanne. Do we have any trends in terms of ingredients that are currently trending in the African hair care products?
So I think there is definitely trends, but I would say that these trends are more emotive trends. Not for me. I don't think there has been enough. Again, this is my opinion, done in terms of active ingredient trends, right? So a lot of the trends are very emotive trends, like emotive oils and extracts that, it's doing its rounds in terms of what's trending for the consumer. And generally, those are your oils. I mean, your castor oils, your coconut oil, and they go up and down, right? And yeah, aloe veras and stuff. There's some certain common ones that come and go. But I do think those are largely emotive
Yeah.
versus, active ingredient trends, if you will.
Okay, yes, thank you. Is there any other questions? Anybody else that want to ask a question?
I think just a statement from my side is the trends is always an important one. We are trying to actually set up a trend talk for probably June or July,
Okay.
which will be quite nice. But it's so difficult
Nobody?
because
Well, thank you very, very much for your presentation, Seema. That was very, yes. Richard, are you there? Seema, can you hear me?
You guys broke up for a bit, but I can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think, Bridget, you broke up there. I think there is a delay. Yeah, she says there's a delay. Okay. Well, Bridget, top your the next presentation that we're having, or obviously the next due seminar, which Bridget was talking about in the chat box. There we go. We plan to host a trends talk soon. Okay, so we'll keep everybody updated. Watch your emails, that you'll get an email from Bridget to have everything confirmed. Okay, a date to be confirmed. Thank you. Thank you, Seema. Thank you very much. Okay, let's hand over to our next presentation from Robyn Brown. It's called Natural Microplastic-Free Cellulose and Other Nature-Derived Products to Enhance the Manageability of Hair Care. Thank you very much for your time, Robyn, to spend it with us this morning, and we look forward to hearing your presentation.
Thank you, Leanne. I'm sure that it's been an interesting morning. I unfortunately wasn't able to join earlier, so I hope I'm not going to repeat a lot of what's been said, but I'll give it a go. So, yeah, welcome everybody, and thank you for your time. I'm Robyn Brown. I'm from a company called Botanichem. I have been in the industry for over 30 years now, so I think I'm part of the furniture. Most of you know me. And I have a great love of ethnic hair care as well as normal hair care. As you can see from the picture here, I think manageability is really a tough one on ethnic hair care versus Caucasian hair care. And it seems like Caucasians, and it's really been done. But I think if you have curls, whether you're Caucasian or African, you will understand the pain. I personally have a lot of curls, so I understand frizz, and yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit more today about what I've seen. So as you can see from the picture, on your left-hand side, you would have a hair strand that is very healthy, and you can see that all the cuticles on the outside are down. But when the cuticles become damaged, or after washing, where you haven't used a catonic or something to put those cuticles back down again, they tend to stand up, and that's when you've got your flyaway hair and the unmanageability that you saw in the previous picture. So it's very important that we look after the hair strands and keep them healthy. And it's very tough when your hair is dry and your natural sebum can't come down the strands, and it's difficult to comb or brush your hair. And like I said, I have curls, and I remember as a child my mother trying to brush my hair, and it was agony. So I'd rather just have had a bird's nest than actually have decent looking hair. But unfortunately, when you get older, that's not quite acceptable. So there has to be ways that we can find to make the hair more manageable. So here you can see typical of what my hair looks like when it's wet, all frizzy and all sort of over the show, and then you brush it and the damage happens. So you can imagine on ethnic hair, this is multiplied by a lot more. So, you know, you've got things like humidity, and I'm sure if you've got curly hair, you know that when you go to the coast and there's humidity, you frizz like crazy, and no matter how you try and straighten your hair, nothing really happens. Heat, because you start to sweat, and then obviously mechanical stresses like brushing, etc. So traditional solutions like oils and serums provide temporary relief, but they may weigh the hair down or leave residues on the hair, which is, I think, a little bit of what Seema was mentioning in the last thing, that there's a lot with oils, but it really isn't that there's a lot available. So what can we look instead of oils? And polymers are something that could add together with the oils in a smaller quantity, but other things that you can start to get some form of hair manageability. So what are polymers? Polymers are large molecules composed of repeating subunits. So if you look at this picture, this is a structure of xanthan gum below. You can see those chemical ring-like structures that they repeat over and over again. And that's what a polymer is where you've got these molecules which join together, and they form quite a large molecular weight, and so they actually coat the hair strand. So that's how they work. So they're versatile, and they can be tailored to address specific hair needs. So the benefits of using a polymer is enhanced smoothness, because they form that protective layer over the cuticle. They reduce the friction between the hair strands and promoting smoothness in the hair. So you can imagine if you can coat the hair strand, and you can look at the picture below, just sort of give you an idea, and it holds those cuticles down and makes the hair smoother. Brushing and combing will be so much easier. So obviously you'd have improved detangling, because it will provide lubrication and reduce the static electricity. Sorry, I'm coughing, I've still got a cold. So polymers make detangling easier, and they minimize the breakage of the hair. So with a long-lasting style, polymers can help hold hairstyles in place by providing structural support and flexibility, by resisting humidity and environmental stresses. So we know this really well because we know what hairspray does. So hairspray and your hair gels, they help put the hairstyles in place, and sometimes they are can be really make your hair quite hard because for styling. But also the problems with the ethnic hair is that if you've got too much polymer, you can get white flaking on the hair. So that doesn't really help either. So one needs to have a look and see that the polymer that you use is suitable to resist humidity and environmental stresses, help condition the hair, but not form these white films on the hair strand. So you can see again in the picture below, this is the type of area where you would want to use a polymer. So they incorporated into various hair products, including shampoos, conditioners, serums, as well as styling gels. So you can imagine there's a lot of different polymers. There's not just like one lot, because you've got to pick the right polymer to do what you want to do on the hair. But generally, the suppliers these days are really good, and they can give you some good literature, so you know that they don't just give you a polymer for hold, so that you've got this hard hair strand, when all you really want to do is something that's anti-frizz or to condition the hair. So like I said, you would pick the polymer that you would use, and there's such an advance in polymer technology. I mean, you even get people who just go and study polymers in university. So it continues to drive innovation in the hair care industry, offering consumers a wide range of options for managing their hair effectively. So you can see in the picture below, the picture on the right is highly desired. We would rather have hair looks like that than the bird's nest on the left, like I said, that I grew up with, because I didn't want anyone to brush my hair. So yeah. So now it's quite interesting because everyone's using polymers and it's great. But what people don't realize is that because they can almost be like plastics in there because of that repeated molecule, if they're not natural and able to be broken down, and they are synthetic polymers, they often are then seen as microplastics. And this is quite scary, because I think the majority of us would think that microplastics are those little beads that you find in face washes, etc. So people can't imagine why is there so much pollution from microplastics, but they don't realize that a lot of these synthetic polymers that are made are actually seen as microplastics now. And so you can already see in the EU, and I think we're following right behind, that on October 17th last year, the EU regulation was made so to ban synthetic polymer microparticles, and it came into force. So all intentionally added microplastics on their own or in mixtures at more than or equal to 0.01% by weight. So you can see it's quite stringent. And so you really have to be careful what polymers you use. So our industry becomes more and more interesting, because the whole time we're looking for new polymers that aren't microplastics but can do the same type of work. And I think that's what makes our jobs as cosmetic chemists so interesting, because there's new technology coming out all the time and we're learning new things every day. So if you're going to use a polymer, it must meet both conditions. So it's containing particles and constitute at least 1% by weight of those particles, or build a continuous surface coating on the particles. At least 1% of these particles have dimensions of less than 5 millimeters, or have a length less than 15 millimeters, and their length to diameter ratio is greater than 3. So you can see it is quite stringent. So this is one of the polymers that is considered pretty natural and would not be considered as a microplastic. And this is fibrillated cellulose. So you can see here, if you look at the picture on the left, those little, it's been pulled apart so that you have those little microfibrils that are out there at the end. And you can see they're quite long in comparison to the other fibers in there. So you can see you've got your normal cellulose fiber, which is what we know well in cosmetics. And then you've got the microfibril matrix, which they break up so that you've just got the microfibrils left. So what sets it apart from other celluloses? So you can see that's what normal cellulose looks like. Then you can see microcrystalline cellulose, and on the left is cellulose powder. And this fibrillated cellulose is the one below that we're talking about. And you can see that it is very different to the others, which are like chopped up. So either through mechanical means or whatever, but the fibrillated cellulose is mechanically treated. There's no chemical reaction happening there. So we try and leave it as naturally as possible. And you can see it has a large surface area and it's a lot more uniform in its structure. And that's what makes this product so special compared to the traditional celluloses out there. So again, you've seen the picture on the left, but if you look at the picture on the right, you can see it forms a 3D network. So this 3D network is what is so great, because this helps with suspension of other particles, stabilizing your formulations, etc., etc. Okay, why is it not going down? Our next one. Okay, so, whoops. All right, so where do we get it from? This is quite exciting. Sappi is a South African company, and we know all their forests. And if you grew up in the East Rand, you would definitely have grown up with the very sulfur smells. Springs was well known for having a stinky Sappi smell, but what is good is that as we go ahead in the world, people realize that looking after our environment is very important, and we can't just dump water and all the waste products from the forestry industry when they make paper. So what Sappi have done is they take all that paper pulp, the water and the mess that's left over from the paper preparation, and they extract the cellulose from there. So you can see it's renewable, it's non-toxic, it's fully biodegradable. They have Cosmos versions, it's sustainable. It has an isonaturality of nearly 1 at 0.99, and it's completely cold processable, so environmentally friendly at that. So we did some studies with the with this fibrillated cellulose in Soweto on ethnic hair, because I was quite concerned that having had those long fibrils, those microfibrils, that it is going to coat the hair strand and you're going to get that white flaking appearance. So we would not want that. And it was really a very interesting study that we did there. We did studies for a few weeks, washing with shampoo with and without the fibrillated cellulose, and also applying conditioner with a cationic, and then one with no cationic but the fibrillated cellulose. It was very interesting in that the cellulose does not work like a conditioner. It doesn't work like a cationic. It's not putting the strands down, but it does leave the hair strand more smooth. So the stylist and even all the people using the product were immediately aware that this product allowed their hair to be more combable, and it had body without weighing down the hair and of the traditional cationics. So they did like it, but it was very interesting, as you can see, because when we went and had a look at under the scanning electron microscope, you can see that the cuticles are down. Even more so than if it was just washed with a straight shampoo, but and treated with a conditioner. But we couldn't really see all the fibers on the hair strand. So it's really quite a nice product in that it's not weighing down the hair, but it makes it more combable and gives the hair more volume. So we know that that 3D network with a high surface area and the available OH groups has some form of a conditioning effect, and it reduces the combing force due to the small fiber size, because they're microfibrils and not the normal thick cellulose strands, and I think that's also why you can't see it. It has very good spreadability on the hair, because it gives the product an absolutely amazing feel and helps the spreadability. It improves the styling and it reduces flyaways and static. But what's really interesting in a shampoo, it stabilizes the foam, increases the lather, and it gives high yield stress and stabilizer. So it's quite a nice stabilizer as well in your natural surfactants. So just to give you a little bit more information, other uses of this fibrillated cellulose, because of its 3D network. So you can imagine this 3D network, and you can see the strands with the little things in between. It's able to suspend pigments and other powders and UV filters like zinc and titanium completely evenly. And so if you have a look at the pictures below of 2% HEC with pigments, and you look at it compared to the picture on the right with the 2% fibrillated cellulose, you can see how it forms an even dispersion. So if you are working in hair care and you want to deposit the actives and the things that really work, this is a nice way to go about it, because it will give even dispersion over the hair strand. So it's very versatile. You can use in pH 3 to 10. It's stable against some electrolytes, as well as being cold processable. It's really nice if you want to make sprays for your spray-on, leave-on conditioners, because it enables a good spray pattern, which you wouldn't be able to achieve when you just make a straight conditioner spray, unless you have a really expensive pump spray that helps with that. But generally, when you spray, you just get this straight spray onto the hair, whereas this would be able to give you better coverage on the hair. And so you're going to be able to use less of the product and get better coverage. So the other thing is, as you can see, you spray it, it doesn't drip. So what makes that interesting is actually just in the packaging, because, you know, if you've got a shampoo and sometimes you press it, then all the shampoo leaks over the side and then it's like sticky or whatever. When you use this fibrillated cellulose in your formulations, it actually sucks back the products into the bottle, leaving no spillage. So there's benefits beside what happens on the hair. It just gives your product so many other benefits that people don't even realize when they're using it, that apart from your styling, etc., you've got all this great other properties for application. So to show you that it works versus xanthan gum, if you look at the stabilization capacity and capability versus xanthan gum, you can see that you get a much higher stabilization property than xanthan gum. And then with viscosity, it doesn't actually thicken much on its own unless you use a very high fiber content, and you can determine that by how much percent you use, the more fibers you've got. And if you put it together with other polymers like a xanthan gum, it would boost the viscosity. So you can keep the formulation quite thin, but stable with a, like looking at 4% fiber content already. So here they show you that together with taro gum and xanthan gum, it really enhances the synergy of the thickness. And the nice thing about it is we know that xanthan often is quite sticky and stringy, and gives a tacky feel. So if you use it together with the xanthan gum or the taro gum, you get an enhanced skin feel, but you don't get that stickiness and the stringiness. And also, because we know high levels of xanthan gum are going to put the white flaking on the hair strand, you can use less xanthan gum, and this will help stabilize the product, and you won't get the whitening on the hair strand. So if you compare it with other rheology modifiers, and just like looking at feels, which although are not as important on hair, it's still nice to have a beautiful product that when you put it on your hair. So we can see if you compare it to xanthan gum and your formulations, you can see that it exhibits similar product attributes to carbomer, but some of the carbomers are now seen as microplastics, so you can see what makes it difficult. But it outperforms the carbomer and other product attributes, and it outperforms the xanthan gum. So you can see it gives a quick break in absorption, so you're not going to be left with greasy products on the hair. It spreads, it helps the spreading on the hair strand so that you can get it to move further and it doesn't just stick there. It does allow for some shine. It's not greasy, it's not tacky, and it gives good coverage. So it demonstrates, like I said to you, better sprayability, because it has this thixotropic nature. So it looks thin, but it looks thick actually, but when you spray it, it can become very thin. So that makes it really nice. And when you compare it to xanthan gum, it's got a better skin feel and it's more robust to electrolytes. So this is just something you can see how that I was explaining to you how it suspends. Like if you put your actives in there, it would give better dispersion. So if you look at the picture on the left, there's no fibrillated cellulose or anything. And so if you were using these beads, they all drop to the bottom. But you can see with the fibrillated cellulose on the right-hand side, you don't increase the viscosity at all, but you're able to get better suspension. So your actives that you use are better suspended throughout your system. Okay, this just shows you as well if you're battling to stabilize your formulation. And I know when you've got a very thin formulation and you're trying to spray, it also always becomes a problem. So you can see here at 1% of the active contents of substances, I just took out in the blue there that's the fibrillated cellulose because it was its trade name. So you can see compared to your carboxymethyl cellulose and your methyl celluloses and your high weight carboxymethyl celluloses, your xanthan gums and your guar gum, how much more stable your formulations are. So it's able to stabilize your formulations really nicely as well. So that's the story on that type of polymer. And then we looked at another polymer, and this one's quite interesting because an interesting story, because this comes from New Zealand. And what is quite interesting is this was a Slovenian lady, and she moved to New Zealand, and for some reason, she really couldn't find anything that moisturized her skin very well. So she looked around, and eventually she came at a flea market, and she found this red seaweed. But it stank to high heavens, and it was very dark in color, and she knew she could never, ever really work with it. And then she found a way, because she worked in the cosmetic industry, and she found a way to purify it where it didn't stink so much and the color wasn't so bad. And she realized that it contained a lot of sulfated glycosaminoglycans. And these are the gags. So you all know them, the S-gags. These are things like your hyaluronics, your collagen, your elastin that sit in the skin and give the skin structure. But how it works with hair care works really well because it's also that 3D network like the polymers that I've shown you. But it contains all of those things, and we know they will coat the hair strand, and we know to get natural collagens and elastins and that to the hair strand, how do we do it? And this is the way you can do it. And then she realized that if she worked with the New Zealand black fern, so now if you remember the rugby players, they've always got that black fern on their outfits, and they are the All Blacks for this reason. So that fern is quite amazing because it holds a lot of sugar molecules. And she found that if she mixed the seaweed with the sugar molecules, she got the most incredible polymer that was actually way more moisturizing than hyaluronic on its own, but it was also able to deliver the active ingredients into the hair strand or into the skin slowly. And they got really good results very quickly because it worked like a patch and delivered slowly. And she also realized that in New Zealand, because of the ozone layer, they don't have an ozone layer. We just burn, but the plants have been able to protect themselves from losing the ozone layer by producing more antioxidants. So she found that if she took, for instance, a plant extract and you grew it in New Zealand, and if you grew it, the same plants in Europe, you would get the same plant, but obviously with a lot more antioxidants if it's grown in New Zealand because it needs to protect itself. So she realized that the extracts, if they're grown in New Zealand, are way more full of antioxidants and would give better results. And she combined them together with this polymer of the seaweed and the black fern. and had a lot better results. So obviously she started on skincare first, but we now know that hair care is so important, and people are looking for things to keep moisture in the hair and to keep those cuticles down without coming out, so you've got more manageability of hair. And we know that collagen, elastin, and they're all important for hair. So this is a great idea, you know, to use this polymer with the hair. And if you've got the sugar molecules from the black fern together, you're going to have something highly moisturizing, but generally cheaper, but better than hyaluronic acid on the hair. So this is just to show you the polymer that is rich in sulfated gags, and they form this fishnet-like matrix to hold the water in the polymer structure. So that's how the water gets to the hair strand and keep it moisturized where on very dry hair. And then, like I said, you've got the black fern, which produces the here we go again today, glucuronimanins, which play a major role in forming that 3D viscoelastic matrix that can rapidly hydrate. So they found that it was even more hydrating than hyaluronic acid. So they've also then looked at using green tea, which we know has got very high antioxidants, and blackcurrant. And so it protects the hair and scalp against UV damage. And I think that is very important in light of us South Africans that stand for many hours in the sun every day. And you think of people waiting for taxis or going shopping, or they walk a lot. Their hair is highly exposed to UV, and so there's a lot of damage. So it's not just the fact that you need a polymer to help style the hair and better with manageability, but you need to keep the hair strand healthy, because if you can't keep the hair strand and the scalp healthy, you're going to have damaged hair, and it's just going to make manageability so much more difficult. So this unfortunately was done in New Zealand, so it wasn't done on ethnic hair. But I think in light of what we know about ethnic hair and the fact that we have this really great polymer, and we know that hyaluronic acid helps the hair, ethnic hair, that I think we would have very good results with this product too. So the study employed a controlled experimental design using blonde-colored hair swatches, which were divided into two parts. One part was treated with a premium commercial salon brand product, while the other part was treated with the R&I shampoo and conditioner. And each group underwent the wash, condition, and blow dry process. Okay, I'm going to need to go to the next page. No, why it's not going down now. There we go. Okay, so if you look at this picture, you can see the salon shampoo on the left-hand side versus the RP shampoo, or the shampoo, conditioner, and blow dry on the left, and the RP shampoo, conditioner, and blow dry on the right. And I think you can see here at the bottom of the hair, at the top, the salon shampoo looks better, but if you look at the ends, which is the really important part, because these are the split ends, this is where the damage occurs, there is a huge improvement with the R&P. So if you get those hair strands and the cuticles to come down, and then more down, you'll get better shine on the hair. So you can see that the result is way better for shine. So because we know there's more shine, it's obvious that the cuticles are being made flat. Sorry, I'm really battling to get my pages to go down. Okay. And so then what they did was they knew then that the hair should be more manageable, because if the cuticles are down. So they were able to see that they got better detangling with the RP formulation. And then what was amazing was they did some styling on it, and the hold was quite incredible. So it kept better volume and form compared to the same hair swatches that were used with the upmarket shampoo, conditioner from the market versus the R&P shampoo and conditioner. It was quite interesting, because when I was in Paris 2 weeks ago and I spoke to the lady, she said to me she was amazed because 6 weeks after the study, she got the hair swatches back from the lab, and they still looked very much like these pictures. So I think having hold and being able to keep it manageable despite having humid conditions, etc., is quite amazing. So we can see that the polymers definitely are working to keep hair more manageable and better condition. So then they had a look, and they did some quantitative tests to see if the RMP at a 2% concentration will work well for hair smoothing and anti-frizz control. And so they added a conditioning mask and used one with the RMP and one without a 2%. And they asked the panelists, and you can see that after 14 days of use, all the panelists, 100% of them said their hair was smoother, 90% said their hair was less frizzy, and 90% said their hair was easier to brush and to style. So there definitely is a merit in using the right polymers on the hair that deliver the right actives and give the hair what it needs to maintain its good condition and style. So I know I'm very quick. I'm a little bit quicker than what I should have been, so I'd leave some time open for questions. But thank you for listening, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. I can't hear you, Leanne.
Okay.
Oh, there we
Am
go.
I there?
Yes.
Thanks, Robyn. Thanks. It was very interesting. Interesting about Sappi using the water from the pulp, that they're actually being creative to redesign it into hair care. That's
Yeah,
fascinating.
it's amazing. I mean, skincare, hair care, yeah.
Yeah,
But today I just really focused on the hair care side of it, but it's really amazing
very.
product,
Yes.
and to think it's something that we all grew up and knew. And yeah, they say that making paper is the most water used process. So I guess as
Yes.
well, with the fact that people are using less paper, they need to do something with the with their cellulose to make more money. And if they're saving the environment, all the
Yes.
better.
Yes,
Sorry, just
absolutely. And I think
Robyn,
if you think about the hair care,
sorry, I was going to say, Robyn, could you stop sharing your screen? Then Nina can do that just while we're taking questions. Sorry to
Yes,
interrupt
no
you there.
problem.
Thank
I
you,
need
thank you.
to just go back into the,
Perfect.
you know, I'm
Yeah,
not
if you can just
exactly
stop
the
sharing.
brightest person when it comes to this, to Teams.
No, I'd
just
rather,
wanted
and
to
then it
see
gives
stop sharing.
Nina a
Okay,
bit of
there we
time
go.
to prep
There we
herself
go.
as well while we're chatting. Thank you.
Yes.
okay. Thank you. Is there any questions in the market? Anybody that would like to ask a question? Any questions? Anything else? I was thinking about the hair flakiness that you were talking about, Robyn, and it reminds me of studies that we've done that you see that that there's flakiness on the hair, and we think it's dandruff, and it's actually sometimes it looks like it. I don't know, that it's polymers. It could be a polymer that's lying on the hair strand.
Yeah, it's generally the polymers, and yeah, it's so unpleasant. You know, we don't see it so much on Caucasian hair, but on beautiful black shiny hair, when you lose that
Yes.
shine and you've got this horrible white flake, it's not pretty.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, I love a beautiful African Afro natural hair, beautifully oiled, shiny, glossy.
It is, it's
I
beautiful.
Yes, I
Yeah.
prefer a natural African hair than a braid, because I think braids are so tough on the skin and on the scalp. Do you think your first product that you spoke about from Sappi, would it be able to be used on braids while the hair is braided and you spray it like a leave-on product?
Yes, I think it will. Obviously not so much on if the braids are natural, more than if the braids are plastic. So I think the braids will definitely help, because you see them at the ends, with the split ends, etc. I think especially if you apply it there as well, you're going to get good hold. But if you're going to be spraying like the anti-itch sprays to the scalp, it would be great, because you can then have something like really thin, but it will also help keep the braids and the roots of the hair in good condition.
Yes, and the second product for the lady that developed this product, how interesting is that about the seaweed and the black fern? Wow.
No, it is.
That's,
It's quite amazing. The results have been phenomenal. And yeah, it's inspiring when you meet the people that can tell you their own stories.
Yeah, super amazing. Do you think that product could also be used on the African hair care market as a leave-on product?
Yes, because there's quite a few different ones in the range. She's got one with Marico, which is very good for antibacterial. So for scalp health, that will be great. This one was specifically for styling as a polymer, but it has the antioxidant properties as well, so it'll protect the hair strand from sun damage. But there's all different things that she can add with that base of the polymers, which whatever is needed for the hair strand or the scalp. So many different applications, but really just to talk about what the polymer part adds to the products.
Okay, all right, that's super interesting. Thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation, and thank you for your time and sharing about this lady. I think that's fascinating. It's always good to hear about how things start in the industry and how people are innovative, and you just look at a plant and you've already got an idea about what you could do. I think that's super amazing, really.
It's something that
Thank you.
excites me. I love plants and I love natural things. So yeah, if they work, all the better.
Yes. Yes. Yes, from nature and products that we can, in nature. As long as we just look after nature, look after the water and don't exploit our nature, that'll also be good.
No, that's for sure.
Yes. Thank you, Robyn.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and up for our next presentation, let's have a look there. It is methods to develop on curly hair for assessment and styling aids, and that's Nina Kioko. Nina, are you online? Can you hear us?
Yes, I am. Can
Wonderful.
you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
You can please carry on with your presentation and introduce yourself, and I'm going to mute myself now.
Okay, thank you so much. Sharing my screen right now. Let me know if you can all see it.
It takes a while to upload, so
yeah,
just give it a sec. There we go.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
So thank you so much, guys, for giving me this opportunity. My name is Nina Kioko. I'm from L'Oreal East Africa, and L'Oreal South Africa is our sub-Saharan hub. My position currently is sensory expert. So what that means is I am in charge of more like frontline Did I lose you guys? I lost. Okay, cool. So we'll go to the objective.
Still hear you.
Oh, sorry, I think it was from our end. Sorry for that. So we'll start.
Don't worry, Nina. I think the networks are just quite slow.
Oh, okay. So on this slide, I would like to take you guys through one, we have to showcase various skull types and hair textures that we have in sub-Saharan Africa. We also have an understanding the pinpoints in hair manageability, as well as also we'll showcase the product development of a curl activator styling gel. So on this particular slide, we are going to take you through the various skull types.
Yeah, we do. Bridget? Nina?
Yeah, I think that we've lost them again. Goodness. That's unfortunate.
Is she presenting from here in Gauteng?
No, I think they are up in Africa, unfortunately. So I think this is why we've lost sound again. Nina, are you still there? Because they're sitting very still. Otherwise, from Kenya. Thanks, Marcel. Goodness.
Oh, from Kenya. Thanks.
I wonder, should we take an early break? I just don't know that the sound is going to get better. Maybe they can pre-record and we can share it at a later stage.
Yeah.
I think that will be the best option because
Yes.
this is going to, I think, be continuous, unfortunately, unless, let me see who's the next speaker, because we were going to take a break now at 12, hey?
Yeah.
Who?
Yes, it's Lesego and Ali.
And
After the
Ali.
afternoon session, solutions for stylists, unless they want to go in now, and then we just have
I don't know if they're
earlier
ready.
meeting.
Let's just see. Let's have a look.
Bridget, myself,
just
and
admitted Nina
Melo,
now.
if he is ready, we could also go a bit earlier.
Oh, okay.
help out.
Yeah, I worry if people are specifically logging in at certain
Sorry for that,
times.
guys.
Oh, Nina, are you
You
back?
can hear me?
We can hear you. Can't see anything though.
Let me just use my laptop.
Okay.
Let me.
Oh, Nina,
I
great.
apologize for that.
That connection is much, much better. And maybe even if you don't pop your camera on, but just share the screen, maybe that would work better.
Yeah.
So sorry. If technology
No, it's okay.
works, it's great. But no, this is a much better connection, so that'll be amazing. And then I think you might need to just go back 1 or 2 slides because we lost you for quite some time.
Yes.
Thanks, Nina.
Sorry.
Shame.
Awesome. Thank you.
You can see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so that's basically
Yes, we
like
can see your
the
objective.
introduction. So yeah, we can start with the objectives.
Yes, I think
Go
start
for
there.
it, Nina.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I apologize again for that. So the objectives is we will showcase the various skull types and also the hair textures that we have in sub-Saharan Africa. Our focus is mostly on 3 countries. We have Nigeria, Kenya, and also South Africa. We will also have a slight deep dive on understanding the main pinpoint that we have on hair manageability. And lastly, how this comes up together in the product development of a curl activator styling gel. Curl activator styling gel is one of the styling aid products that are mostly used as a finished product on either short relaxed hair or even natural afro hair. So on this particular slide, as you can see, we have different curl types. The numbers I've just indicated as 1, 2, 3, 4 for the guidance of the images, but not as per the curl type patterns. But if you remember what Madam Singh had said earlier on hair matters, thank you very much for that. It was very insightful. You were able to take us a little bit more deeper into how the curl types are in terms of diagrams. So here we have the first one, number 1, is mostly loose coils, and these are spring-like kind of hair strands, and they are very close to the scalp. Image number 2, these are hair strands or hair type of consumers who are present in 3 countries. That is where we have Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa. They are coiled and they are mostly loose to medium coils. So moving forward to number 3 and number 4, we have them present also in Kenya and South Africa, focusing more with the very coiled number 4. It's tied to distinct springy coil, meaning the distinct aspect is that is well defined and more spiral. While the last one, it's the extreme tight curls, which is actually intertwined and very coiled. So these are just some of the images that we have in terms of the hair types that we have of different consumers in our region. And it's good for us to understand how they are and how they behave and what's their relation to hair manageability. So we'll also take a deep dive to understand the landscape. That is what motivates and the perception that is there currently with consumers from what was there before and currently how it's shifting. So we have divided into 3 categories. We have natural hair, protective styles, and you also have consumers who prefer relaxed hair. If I start with natural hair, Natural hair, from the longest time when it comes to motivation, we have always wanted this self-acceptance. And if you go back to the 60s and the 70s, where Afro styling was considered to be more like a symbol of Black pride. But when it comes to the perception of it, is that it was very untidy and professional, and it had limitations when it comes to styling the hair. But currently, right now, with the consumers, the way they are trending or the way they are shifting is that right now, Afro hair or natural hair is also acceptable in terms of having different ways on how to manage it. And also it has versatility. It means that we also have different options to style the hair. So we are not limited to the way we were back then. When we go to protective styles, which again, I will relate to what I think he was Mr. Magina, when he was taking us through the protective styles, I actually was able to relate a lot with this particular column of mine, because protective styles, they're the drying hairstyles, which comes in form of wigs, and also weaves. They can either be synthetic or human. And back then, the motivation was we wanted that long hair. We wanted to move to more the Eurocentric aspect of it. But right now, it's becoming more of a self-expression kind of a new look. Like if you have short hair and you want an illusion of long hair, you can use braids, you can use wig to do that. If you also want a different type of hairstyle, which has a different type of color. So what it has done is that it has made it much more convenient. It has made it much more manageable. It has also become low in terms of maintaining, and you have different options to play around. And by that, it has shifted from what we used to think of like wigs or like those fake, but now it has been more accepted as a more self-expression aspect, and you have different styles options. When you go to the relaxed hair, back then people thought relaxed hair was the way to go. From the natural hair, people didn't want chemicals, but right now relaxed hair, consumers want that straight, silky look, Caucasian-like kind of admiration. But again, we have shifted just from having a straight, silky look. People want not only straight, they want that hair to have some volume, they want it to have some movement. And also in the end of it all, it has made it much more easier for them to manage and comb the hair. So all this, what does it have, or what do we have in common in all these three categories? Basically, we want manageability and we want versatility. The opportunity to have different options to style the hair as we wish, and also to make the hair much more manageable and less frustrating. So we will start back with the main point, where hair with poor manageability and limited styling options. As you said earlier, Afro textured, or as you have heard has been mentioned also from other presenters, but also including myself now, is that Afro textured hair has very tight and coiled hair shaft. And it also it has very high, sorry, let me just start again. Afro consumers, they normally experience frustration when they're combing their hair during their daily day styling. The reason is when you go back to the hair shaft is very tight and coiled, and it has very high porosity, meaning it has the ability to absorb and at the same time lose moisture very quickly, and it makes the hair very dehydrated. However, being that one of the reasons is that the coil, the intertwining aspect of it, makes the hair shaft not even enough for it to lubricate the hair shaft from the roots to the end. So due to the unevenness of the lubrication of the natural oils from the scalp, the hair also tends to be very drier. And that's why we normally say that when it comes to our type of hair, which is the Afro textured, the hair tends to be very dry, the hair tends to be very brittle and fragile. And that is why tendencies and breaking happens to be very, very common for us. And that is mostly a pinpoint when it comes to hair manageability for us. So the solution that we came up with, and that's now where the main topic of the whole presentation comes in, is that we had to come up with a standardized manual that we created to help us evaluate and analyze products. As I've told you, my background, I'm a sensory expert. So we are at the front line when it comes to screening prototypes that have been formulated to be able to guide the formulation team in terms of the strengths and also the superiority aspect of our products. And this is tied together with the consumer needs. And this was something that was not available for L'Oreal. So we had to sit back and come up with a method that we were able to use as a manual and help us more like a protocol moving forward. And it has really helped us over the years. And the purpose of that was to educate formulators about the importance of sensory sensory attributes. Right now, I'm in the audience of formulators, raw materials, people who understand the ingredient aspect of it. However, we had to come up with a way on how we also had to help the formulators understand not only just which raw materials work well for achieving this, but how do we assess them and what kind of impact do we get from that. And eventually, we come up with a new product that has high acceptance in the market when it comes to hair manageability. So how did you do this? I just decided to use like a flow chart to take you through. I believe it will be very easy and simple, but also fun to understand the journey that we have had to go through. So first of all, we have the consumer studies. Consumer study, this one was done way back as early as way back in 2016, where a quantitative study was done with the help of our consumer evaluation department for R&I. They were able to help us do a quantitative study just to be able to understand and to get a deep dive understanding of the consumers, what their consumer behavior is. And this was product usage, the routine, their preference, also the benefit they expect to get from the products. We were also able to extract information like their purchasing power, what expectations do they expect. And since we are working on a product for the curl activator, we also had to recruit regular users of curl activator. And this gave us a much more wider understanding of what their needs are, what are they missing, what's their wish list, and how to go about it. And from this, the information that we got, we were able to generate data from it, and we were able to break down into different categories. And we were able to know what benefits they expect, what their expectations are, what their wish list is, what is the must-have for a curl activator, what currently do we have in our prototypes, and what we do not have. So how did we create the manual? The attributes, we were able to translate them from the consumer feedback that we were getting. For example, the feedback that we were able to extract from the data, if they wanted a curl activator that has more shine, we were able to extract a keyword from it, for example, shine, and we were to use that, translate it into the sensory language where it became like a parameter for us to assess, which is like shine. Another example, if they wanted a curl activator that was defining the curls, we also we were extracting the keyword, like the curl definition, and we use it as an attribute for us to use to score. Another final example, for example, if they wanted a product that was giving them moisture, all-day moisturization. The keyword again there is moisturization. So we use the keywords moisturization as our attribute and use it to score. And you are also able to go a little bit deeper and see this moisturization. Do they want 48 hours? Do they want 24 hours? And we were able to use that to be able also to support the formulation department when it also comes to super claims. So that is how we were able to translate the data that we got from the consumer insights into sensory language. And by that, we also had a software available that we were able to use the parameters, and we were able now to come up with not only just the attribute, we also had the definition, we also had how to evaluate it. And most importantly, we were also able to take cameras and pictures to be able to help not only just as sensory experts using the manual, also formulators when they're going through the reports, they are able to visualize how we were able to evaluate this type of gestures. And it becomes much more easier for them to relate the scores that we have in terms of the prototype that they share with us and see how relevant it is in terms of superiority or inferiority compared to what is currently we have in the market and what is in the market. And from that, we were able to now generate a manual that we have been using over the years to screen for this particular product. So when it comes to just an example on how the images look like and how the manual looks like, the first one, for example, wetting effect. If I could take you a little bit back, if most of you are familiar with the legend Michael Jackson, if you remember, if you can relate his hair was very curly, shiny. It had the greasy curl activation kind of a look. So when it comes to wetting effect is something that consumers don't expect to be too much on a curl activator. For example, if it is too wet, if it is too greasy, they have actually moved away from that kind of an effect whereby when you apply, it makes the color become very wet, damp. They want something that, despite the product, in terms of routine, the product is being applied on damp hair and not on dry hair. Aspect when it comes to not too hot. Again, we lost you guys. Am I back?
Yes, you're back, Nina. We just missed you that last 2 sentences about dampness.
You can still see my screen?
Yes.
Sorry, I cannot see it from my end. Sorry. So
Okay, there you go. We can see it. Can you see your screen?
you can see it? Yes, I can see it. So at this point, we also have another attribute, for example, when it comes to curl evenness and curl definition. As I had mentioned, curl activator is a very important product when it comes to giving curl evenness and curl definition. So this is just an example of a few of the information that we have on the manual. Each attribute, for example, when it comes to curl evenness, you want the S curl formation. Don't forget, this is a product that can be applied on natural hair and can also be applied on texturized hair that has been done with the help of the chemical. So the curl evenness, how even is the curl from the root to the tips, and also curl definition. How quick does it define the curls? How defined are they from the root to the ends? And we were able to also support it with a few images on how to evaluate this. And this has really helped us a lot. And having to mention that we also have the manual there. It's on a link that you have already published it. It's on the Social Scientific Research Network. We will share it with you guys on the link for anyone who might want to go ahead and look at it. So what we have done is that this became like our foundation. As we are aware of, consumers are shifting, they are changing. For example, right now they want a curl activator that has a greasy effect. What if 5 years in 2030 and 2035, for example, they might shift and they say they want a curl activator that is oil-based. So this just becomes like the basic in terms of the must-have on what we may need in terms of a curl activator. And then you can keep on adding more attributes along the way. On my next slide, it's now more of why is this information important to the formulation? The formulation team at this point, they were able to know that they want a product that will moisturize the hair because consumers are looking for moisture. They also know that they want a product that will define the curls. So when you look at this, these are just some of the main active
Nina, you are gone again. Nina?
Okay.
There you're back.
Yeah. Is it still us? Like,
Yes, we can see your presentation. It's just that your voice goes gone.
okay. So I can just repeat on this particular slide. So what was our input when?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yes, go ahead, Nina.
Okay, sorry. So on this particular set is what we're trying to say is that what was our input when it comes to the formulation? The formulation team were able now to know that for them to come up with a very nice color activator is that they need specific kind of active ingredients that are very key for them to achieve the needs of what we had told them was from what we extracted from the reports of the screening. So for example, they know that they want glycerin and the propylene glycol, which basically is the PG in short form, and this one will help with moisturization. They also know that they need carboma, why? Because carboma, when it comes to color activator, will define the colors. So naming just a little bit of the main key ingredients and having the perfect mix of other raw materials, it was easy for them to come up with a perfect color activator that will meet the needs of the consumers. And that is what our input came in. And from this, they were able to reach out to the raw material suppliers, and they were able to get the right mix of.
Oh, you are gone again, Nina.
Okay, so to sum up, or what is our key takeout from what I've just spoken about, is that we have a standardized assessment manual that is available, and that has really helped us a lot when it comes to assessing and screening the prototypes that we currently have as we go ahead. Something else that has also helped us is that from this, we were able to support the formulation team in terms of claims. For example, when they said they wanted moisturization, to what extent can the product give moisture? Is it 1 day? Is it 24 hour? Is it 48 hour? And by that, we were able to come up with a superior claim that was meeting and was going beyond just what the must-haves are for the consumer needs. Next, also, we were able to develop a curl activator. It's a light textured product that will define the curls and will also give long-lasting moisture. It has been in the market. It is currently in the market, and it's actually a product that gives us a clear understanding, or even a good example on how coming up
Nina.
And lastly, we were able to come up with a satisfying product for the market, for consumers, to make it much more manageable when they're combing their hair every day. It's not frustrating. And also it has options in terms of styling. You can either use it on natural hair, you can use it on texturized hair, you can also use it to age tame your hairlines. So it's a product that was able to meet the full satisfaction of the consumer. So what I'm just trying to say is that it's not 1 month show, it's a 360 more of a chain where you need to step back, get information from the consumers, understand what the consumer needs are, understand what their expectations are, to an extent even to their wish list. Then now continue to update on the assessment manual and attach it with the attributes. Think outside the box. We come up with methodology on how we can be able to assess this product and work together with the formulation team to get the perfect mix in terms of the right product that the marketing department can go ahead and launch and meet the needs of the consumers. Thank you. That's the end of my presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, Nina. That was very informative. Do we have any questions? Nina, I've got a question.
Yes.
Nina?
Yes. You can hear me. Yes.
Have you found your research that there's a difference in hair? Yes.
Sorry, if I've done what?
Have you found a difference in hair texture between the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere?
Break down a little bit when you talk about northern hemisphere. Break down a little bit. You're talking about Caucasian hair, just to see if we are aligned. Caucasian hair.
Africa.
Caucasian hair
African hair.
and African hair. If there is a difference.
In African hair, in Upper Africa.
Yes.
And Lower Africa.
If there is a difference.
Yeah, Nina, I think Leanne's connection is also struggling. So she's just asking if you've noticed a difference between the African hair in the northern hemisphere versus the southern hemisphere, or northern versus southern Africa hair types.
So northern, mostly you're talking about countries like which one, Brazil, or which one? A little bit more specific to give you a better answer.
Africa.
Sorry.
Shame, Leanne, I think your connection is also struggling.
Yeah.
Maybe you can just type the question.
You can repeat what she has said. I'm sorry.
Hi, everybody. It's Batanda here. I work with Nina. And just to answer a question on her behalf, she's based in Kenya, so the network seems to be a bit of an issue. But yes, we have identified that within Africa, there are different curl patterns that are found based on region. So it's not as simple as North versus Southern Africa. So you'll find that the curl pattern in West Africa and East Africa is different, even if the countries are both Northern Hemisphere. So it's really about region. And if you look like extreme Africa, of course, when you're looking at your Egypt and those type of countries, it'll be very different.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Sorry, I missed that, but thank you, Batandwa.
Thank you.
Is there any other question?
No other questions.
There is something in the chat. If you can also type your question. It's a bit of a challenge with the network. Okay, don't worry. That was Dennis.
It's us.
So
yeah, sorry.
We
It's
multitasking.
Slow.
Yeah, good.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's have our next presenter for the next part of the presentation. I just want to open up, and we're going to have a look at, are we actually finished, Bridget?
So we're having a
Are we due
break?
for a
Yeah,
break?
I
Awesome.
think we're having a quick break between 12 and 12:30. Giving me a heart attack. Okay. So
Okay, we'll see everybody.
12:30.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Hopefully the network's better when we come back.